Well, it's that time of the day again where, for whatever reason, it is unusually very hot right now in my area, and that it's actually 90 degrees outside, and that in my room right now it's 110 degrees, which is why once again I have to bring out the fan, and that this time I actually decided to bring out a bigger fan than the one that I did last time. The last time I brought out a very small fan to try to cool my room. It did not do the job whatsoever. So that's why I decided to bring a bigger fan that is a little bit more effective in terms of cooling my room. Although the problem with the bigger fan is that it is incredibly noisy, and that I'm pretty sure when you click on this video you probably first realize, what the heck is that noise in the background? Well, that noise is my big fan that of course I am using to try to cool my room, and that if it's very loud in this video, I do apologize for that, because, I need to have something to, of course, cool my room. And since my room does not have an air conditioner, the fan is really the only thing that can actually cool my room right now. And that I don't just get exhausted from the heat of this room when I am doing a video. But that being said, let's actually now get into today's video, which is the news of the week. And this week we had a couple of coaches that end up getting fired, and that the first coach that got fired this week, or actually the second coach that got fired this week, is Wilmer Cabrera, who of course got fired from the Dynamo yesterday. And that, we knew that he was definitely on the hot seat, and that he was on the brink of potentially getting fired, considering the fact that the Dynamo has really fell off a cliff ever since the beginning of June. But one thing I will say is, despite the fact that how bad the Dynamo has been, I'm not really going to put too much of a blame on Wilmer Cabrera, and I'm not going to put all the blame on Wilmer Cabrera is the reason why this Dynamo team has started to go on a death spiral. I think he definitely shared part of the blame, but the other part of the blame in terms of that is the fact that the front office and ownership are definitely being too cheap in terms of how they handle business and run the team. I mean, it feels like right now this Dynamo team is just stuck in a 1.0 mindset, where all they're thinking about is just decided to penny pinch for players that hopefully they can be very talented in the league, and that that kind of thing might work back in MLS 1.0 and might work a couple of years ago, but it does not work now, especially with the fact that more teams now are spending more money in terms of getting those young South American talent, and also decided to be more ambitious than ever before. So if the Dynamo does not figure that out, and that they need to of course be a team that is a little bit more ambitious and trying to spend more money. And I know it's not easy when they are the cheapest team in the league and the lowest payroll team in the league right now, but you gotta also think they need to start thinking about spending more money and just be a little bit more ambitious in terms of looking for their talent. Now, one of the scary things that I did hear today, and if you're a Dynamo fan, this is definitely not very welcoming, is that their owner actually said that they want to look for a new head coach that not only would fit the system that the Dynamo is playing, but also they need to fit the culture. And unless if that culture is just decided to spend more money and be more ambitious in terms of getting some big time player in the league to play on this team, that is definitely not a great sign whatsoever. And basically the ownership is just pretty much putting another puppet into that coaching road, so that Dynamo will continue to suffer through just mediocrity years and years coming soon in the league. So yeah, if you're a Dynamo fan, I mean, I'm sure you're happy that Cabrera finally got fired, but at the same time, I think that's only one piece of the puzzle that they of course have solved this issue with this team. And that I think the second issue is that they might think about either changing their front office and changing their ownership, or the fact that they need to change the culture, and that they just cannot be stuck in an MLS 1.0 mindset and be be so cheap in terms of some of the signings that they have bring. Now, the second coach that was fired this week is Mike Petke, and I was actually surprised the fact that he was not fired a couple of weeks ago, because as you all know, a couple of weeks ago, Mike Petke was suspended after he, of course, said some homophobic slur to one of the fourth official in that league game against Tigres, and that's when, of course, he got suspended without pay and also got fined $25,000. And obviously, a lot of people was calling for RSL to fire him, which eventually they did on Sunday after they, of course, got a win against SKC a day later. And as much as I do like Mike Petke, and as I mentioned before, Mike Petke is considered my favorite head coach in MLS. What he did during that game, and the way that he, of course, made that homophobic slur to the fourth official, that is absolutely unacceptable. And, you know, after, of course, he realized that he, of course, got fired from the job, he even said that it is absolutely my fault that I, of course, said those things, and I totally regret on that. But at the same time, you know, unlike Wilmer Cabrera, that most likely could get another job, because I think Cabrera is definitely a very talented head coach and can definitely take in charge of an MLS team or somewhere else. I'm not quite sure about Mike Petke, because this is something that this is a very, very serious kind of thing, and that this will definitely lead a big black mark into Mike Petke's reputation of being a head coach. And, you know, I don't know exactly who is thinking about getting him, and that maybe he might be thinking about, you know, if he does get another head coaching role, I don't think it's going to be most likely in MLS, considering the fact that, like I said, his reputation has really been damaged because of his action that he did in that league game. So, yeah, and speaking of Wilmer Cabrera, don't be surprised if Wilmer Cabrera replaced Mike Petke in that RSL job. I mean, right now, I know RSL is putting their interim head coach as one of the, I think it's one of the assistant coach that's been with RSL for a long time, and that his name is Juarez, and that he's been with he's very known with the RSL Academy and known to promote young players into this RSL team a lot. So basically, RSL, even though they of course fire Mike Petke, they're bringing another guy that is kind of like Mike Petke, of trusting the academy and trying to bring in more homegrown player to start in the starting 11. But yeah, you know, for RSL and for Mike Petke, I have a feeling he might not be getting a job anytime soon because of what he did a couple of weeks ago. Now, moving on into the next news is that the Montreal Impact sold defender Zachary Dallo to Lens, and that this was actually announced just today, and that I'm pretty sure that this really shocked a lot of people, considering the fact that Dallo has been by far the best defender for Montreal, and that even though Montreal has been kind of not doing very well in terms of defensive wise, and Dallo has kind of not played as well as he did for the beginning part of the season, he's still a very vital kind of player for the Montreal Impact. And the fact that they decided to just sold him like that, yeah, that is kind of really a big surprise, and I just wonder, is there something more to do with that, and that whether or not did Zachary Dallo think that he really wants to go back to France, and that he needs to, of course, he probably, of course, are kind of a little bit homesick with the fact that he, of course, is currently with Montreal. But, you know, we need to have more information about that, because this kind of feels like uncalled for, with Montreal decided to get rid of Zachary Dallo and decide to send him back to Lens. But moving on into the next news is that Inter Miami has rumored that they are actually going to finally get their star-studded European player that they've been looking for a long time. And that player that they are looking to try to get is not Luis Suarez or Antoine Griezmann as they originally reported, but instead it is going to be Edison Cavani that is potentially that star-studded player that is going to be coming to MLS and joining this team heading into next season. Now, Cavani, he's definitely not as a well-known name as Luis Suarez or Antoine Griezmann or even maybe Robert Lewandowski, but still, Cavani is a decent kind of player in that he really tore it up League last season with PSG, and that he scored a ton of goals with the team. And I have a feeling if he does come to MLS, and I know this is going to be one of those signings that Eurosnub is going to point out that MLS is a retirement league because they're once again seeing teams decided to sign a European superstar kind of player from Europe and bring them to MLS to retire. But I don't think that is the case. And even though if Cavani is a little bit older, I think he can definitely help out the team. And especially the fact that the team also is considered a couple of young South American talented player on their team. This could I'm definitely very excited to see what Inter Miami does offer when they come into the league heading to next season. Now, another star-studded player from Europe could be potentially coming to MLS is Daniel Sturridge. Okay, maybe he's not really a star-studded player, but DC United is rumored that they are trying to get former Liverpool striker Daniel Sturridge, and that just a week ago they were rumored that they were going to talk to Mesut Ozil agent and thinking that maybe they can work out a deal of him coming to DC United, and that basically right now DC United is trying to hunt to try to get any kind of European superstar kind of player that maybe is way past their prime, or the fact that they are injury prone, like the target that they are rumored with Daniel Sturridge to come to DC United. Because after all, once Wayne Rooney left, the front office got to know that they need to have another well-known player to come to this team so that they can, of course, keep those fans into the stadium. But yeah, if they do decide to sign Daniel Sturridge or Mesut Ozil, I mean, the Mesut Ozil one, I don't think it's gonna happen considering the fact that he is earning a lot with Arsenal right now, and there's just no way DC can offer that kind of wage to him if they decide to sign him. And if they decide to sign Daniel Sturridge, yeah, get ready for him to spend more time in the IR than actually on the pitch, and that if they decided to if this is kind of the replacement for Wayne Rooney, then this is a bad kind of replacement for him, considering the fact that, like I said, Daniel Sturridge is very, very injury prone. Now, moving on, LAFC. So, as if LAFC is not stacked enough, they decided that they need to address probably the only position that they kind of feel like there is a little bit of a weakness with getting Ecuadorian left back Diego Palacio. Now, this is a guy that, of course, was signed before the transfer window, even though technically the news didn't announce until after the transfer window. But yeah, the rich just gets richer for LAFC, and that I really felt like there's got to be a point where, you got to stop LAFC. Like, we know that you are by far the best team in the league and that you are basically belong in another planet to everybody else. But at the same time, you don't really need to decide to sign more players to not only increase your chances of winning MLS Cup, but could potentially be one, if not the most dominant team that we have ever seen in MLS history. Now, another star-studded player that came into the league but now is about to exit the league is Omar Brownie. And the reason why I call him a star-studded player is because he had a very good CCL, and that he was part of that Independiente team that kind of had that Cinderella run, and that he was main part of it. And I thought it was clear that somebody need to at least give him a shot in MLS in terms of trying to play in the league and trying to, of course, develop to be a great player in the league. And Montreal, of course, took that shot when they, of course, decided to sign Omar Brownie a couple of months ago on a loan. But it turns out that Independiente looked like they want to decided to recall him on that loan spell that Montreal, of course, agree on, and that is the reason why Omar Brownie has returned to Independiente. And that, I know a lot of people are kind of confused with the fact that, well, why? Like, first of all, they already did kind of a questionable move with getting rid of Zachary Darlow to Lens. Now they decided to get rid of Omar Brownie, that they, of course, just got a couple of months ago. And that it doesn't really make sense why they, of course, have to get rid of him now. Well, the thing is, they're not getting rid of him. It's that Independiente is recalling them. And if anything, if Montreal would have maybe bought Omar Brownie from Independiente, then maybe Independiente did not have to, then, you know, Montreal would avoid Independiente potentially recalling him back from the team, and that we had this situation again. But Montreal decided not to. And it's also, you know, for Omar Brownie, it's kind of unfortunate the fact that I still think this kid has a lot of talent, but the problem is that he isn't usually starting minutes with, he usually isn't in the starting 11 with Montreal, and I'm not quite sure why exactly is the case. I mean, I heard some Montreal fans says that it's maybe due to the fact that he does have a bit of an attitude issue, and that is the reason why Montreal and Remy Gard is not really putting him in the starting 11 a lot. But, you know, now he's going to be going back to Independiente, and I won't be surprised in the future if he does well again with Independiente, and that Independiente does go into CCL, and that he's going to be one of the main stars in that tournament again. Don't be surprised if an MLS team is going to try to take a look at him. But moving on, Joseph Martinez, of course, win Player of the Week, which is not a surprise because he, of course, broke the record this week in terms of getting 10 straight games with at least a goal, and that he, of course, broke the record that he actually owns last year when he scored 9 straight games. And then finally, in this news of the week, Disco fined and issue an additional game suspension to Mason Toye. And again, this is not a big surprise either, considering the fact that I did say in the review that I knew that with what he did in that game was not only completely disrespectful, but I also think that this would resort into an additional game of suspension, which, there you go. Disco, of course, immediately get into that action, and that now, you know, Mason Toye will not be available not only for the Colorado game, but also the very next game too. So yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week episode. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these news of the week, and let me know in the comments if I miss any important news that happened in the past week. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.